Righty folks, welcome. Boy, we got 57 people watching the stream already. That's fantastic. Hopefully you guys have had a fantastic week. After the schmozzle that was Thursday night with the public talk and our internet issues at the Observatory plus my own home, I've gone out to the central wheat belt to get some internet. And in that, we've also got to one of our volunteers, Roger Groom's property in the central wheat belt, and so we're currently doing this from his Astro Observatory's WA observatory. So Roger's actually right next to me. So hey, Roger,
yeah, I'm here. So Roger Groom of Astrophotography Australia and Astro Observatories Western Australia. So Matt and a bunch of Perth Observatory volunteers have come out here because, well, we're not allowed to run tours because of social distancing and all that jazz. So why not have a campfire and have some wine? Hey, Matt.
And plant some trees as well.
And plant some trees. So meanwhile, I host telescopes here. So I have customers who have telescopes in my observatory. And so seeing as Matt's out here with us at the campfire, we've just ducked off to the observatory to do this live stream. And so we're going to use my telescope to do some live images as we go tonight. So does that sound good, Matt?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So first up, we've got the Tarantula Nebula here. So Roger, just a little bit of explanation, because this is different than just doing my backyard Nikon. So
sure.
This is actually stacking the images that the telescope's taking at the moment.
Yeah, that's right. So this is my 12-inch Schmidt Cassegrain with a astronomy camera on the back, and it's doing some live stacking of the Tarantula Nebula. So the Tarantula Nebula will be slowly improving in quality as the exposures get taken, but it's beautiful dark night out here. We haven't had the cloud to come in yet, but all I'm doing is simple 60-second exposures here, so nothing too long or too complex, just some simple 60-second exposures using a luminance filter. So yeah.
So we're actually getting this, so even though this is black and white, we're actually seeing a little bit more of the nebula than we would see with our Nikon D810A that I usually use.
Just a little bit, man.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. This is an S-big camera which records 86% of the photons that hit it, as opposed to the Nikon at 30%. So just a little bit.
I always get in with that. But we do have the Nikon here. So at the end of the night, I thought, well, we'll try and we'll do some wide field photography of the night sky, seeing we're out here. And I know we've got some followers like Mel's here who's in the central wheat belt, so we get to show.
Oh, hey, some locals out here.
Yeah.
Hello, central wheat belt people.
So yeah, so let's so we'll start off with the Tarantula Nebula. So this is a fantastic object to see, and even you can actually see this even in the dark areas of the outer suburbs. It's in the Large Magellanic Cloud, and it's quite prominent in the night sky, especially for this when you get out of Perth and you get out to the dark skies. It's even a binocular object, but this is the furthest object that we can actually show you at the observatory that's not a black hole. Oh, sorry, that's not a galaxy, and it's quite massive. It's 700 light years across. So we do have during the summer we have the Orion Nebula, and that's 1,344 light years away from us. So it's one of the closest star-forming regions to us. Now that's 25 light years across. If we brought the Tarantula Nebula, which is 700 light years across, 160,000 light years away from us, it would take up almost 20% of the night sky, and you could actually read a newspaper with the light from it. So it's pretty impressive. And it's in the center there, we can see right here we've got a cluster. Now that's about 35 light years across, and it contains about 2,400 stars, and that's a fairly decent amount. But one of the things about the Tarantula Nebula is that it could possibly actually end up being a globular cluster with the amount of stars it can actually make. It's the fastest place making stars in the local group of galaxies. This star is breeding stars like rabbits, and that's because it's on the edge of the Large Magellanic Cloud. The Large Magellanic Cloud is a dwarf galaxy that orbits around our galaxy, and it's starting to be interacted with our gravity from our galaxy, and that's causing seismic waves to go through that nebula and causing dust particles to come and collide with each other, which starts the process of star formation. So it's a pretty cool place, cool object to have a look at.
And I've got to say, Matt, out in the central wheat belt, when you look up under these dark skies, you just see the Magellanic Cloud, and you can see that Tarantula Nebula is a little patch down on that Magellanic Cloud. It's just, right there.
And Troy says nice capture as well.
It's not bad for live 60-second shots, hey? We'll work with what we got. I do like the nebulosity, the sharper lines starting to come out in particularly the top right of the nebula. There's some nice sort of shadow lines there. So yeah, it is starting to come up nice.
Yeah, and there are some of the largest stars in the local area can actually be found here, and especially in the center. A lot of these clusters and nebulas that we show you, they're self-segregating. So smaller stars get thrown out into the outer area of the cluster or the nebula, and the big guys get, if they form in the outer regions, they move inside. And so you'll always get that with these clusters. And also in 1987, on my birthday, unfortunately I was 1 year old. It wasn't a great sign of my birth. I was 1 year old when this happened, but the supernova 1987 actually occurred near here, and there was someone in, I believe, New Zealand who'd actually seen it, and they didn't report it in fast enough, and so they missed out on getting the discovery. So that's you've always got to be on it. So they didn't have social media back then. So Roger, do you want to go to our next target?
Yeah.
We'll go to Eta Carina.
Eta Carina, okay. Well, I'll just take a few minutes to slew the telescope over and start taking exposures.
So you're using SkyX here to control the telescope?
I am, yeah, and I just realised I did a little mistake. I should have stopped it before I closed it. I think this guy has a little bug there, but we'll see how we go. So I'm just going to slew this over. Let's go to Eta Carina. This is really complex. I'm going to type in Eta Carina.
So both Tarantula Nebula and the Eta Carina nebulas are both reflective and emissions nebulas. So this is, we call them both emissions and reflective nebulas because the gas and dust is reflecting the light from the stars, hitting it and then bouncing back. But also that dust and gas is very, very cold, so it doesn't take a lot to heat that up. But the radiation from those stars are also hitting the nebula and dust, slightly heating it up and causing it to glow. And that glow is basically the same as a fluorescent tube or a neon sign as well. And hopefully you can actually hear the telescope moving as well.
So there, let me check, Matt. They're seeing the screen there.
Yep.
With the dot moving across. That yellow dot was the telescope. Let's see if. So
we're looking right here, guys.
And let's see if I do a 3-second exposure. Do you reckon we're going to have Eta Carina? What's my chances?
Let's have a look.
50-50.
Yeah. Look, at least it's not the CPC 1100. Yep.
Oh, looks like the centre of it's a little bit off. So Eta Carina is a massive nebula, so it's interesting. My field of view is only 15 arc minutes by 10 arc minutes. It's a very small field of view. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this down a little bit, get the right place. I'm going to bring it down maybe 5 arc minutes, and we'll see if we get more of the central region of the nebula at that. So we'll wait for this. I'm doing 3-second little focus exposures here just to check the framing before we go into the live sort of acquisition.
Yeah. So Ron says, "Greeting Earthlings." Hello, fellow Earthling Ron. And Roz H is just saying, "Can you explain? Say again what the camera is are being used and the software. So we're using SkyX to control the telescope. And what's the telescope and the camera?
So the telescope is a 12-inch Schmidt Cassegrain. It was a good old Meade from the early 2000s, and I've deforked it, put it onto a Paramount EQ mount, and the camera is an S-Big astronomy camera. It's an ST8, so very good camera for most of what I do, which is largely research observations, but it's very good at receiving light and converting that to pixels. Now, it's interesting, Matt, we should have probably tried this one earlier, because I'm looking at Eta Carina here thinking, which part of Eta Carina Nebula have we got here? What I'm going to do is I'm going to just sort of zoom into the view. Yeah, that's not going to help me much, because that is, yeah.
Performance issues.
Well, let's see. If I try, what I'd be interested in trying is, within the Eta Carina Nebula we have the Keyhole Nebula.
Yeah.
And I wonder if I actually search the Keyhole Nebula here, if we're going to get a better chance of getting the part of Eta Carina which we want. Let's see how this goes. So it's still doing 3-second exposure frames, and I've just told it to move to the Keyhole Nebula.
So here we go. Now, there are some apologies tonight. Both John and Kyle were going to be joining us tonight, but Kyle has some new equipment that unfortunately was playing up, and hasn't had enough time tonight to properly check whether the telescope is working properly and the camera. And John, well, he's got too excited and is looking through telescopes. So.
We're talking about the John Ford here, which is sitting at a campfire, probably drinking merrily right now. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a 60-second exposure here. I know that we're going to get part of the Keyhole Nebula. Yep. Whether we're going to get the Eta Carina star, I'm not absolutely sure, but we're not going to be disappointed with nebulosity. So we'll see how that goes. So.
This might be John here.
We're
John,
30 seconds through.
Hello, John.
Yeah, I heard my name.
All right,
John has arrived, so we're just doing some exposures now of Eta Carina and the Keyhole Nebula.
Now, Eta Carina, like the Tarantula Nebula, fantastic visual object out in the central wheat belt, perfectly dark skies out here. Especially if you just got binoculars, no need for a telescope for something like Eta Carina. Obviously, the Keyhole Nebula looks fantastic through a telescope, but and we often show it at the Perth Observatory. But yeah, oh, here we go. Sorry. Oh, nice bit of nebulosity. So I would say that we're a bit above the Eta Carina star.
Yep.
But we have got a whole bunch of nebulosity coming up there. I know Matt on his screen over there is not seeing so much nebulosity, but trust me, Matt, it's there. I've checked the YouTube stream.
We'll keep it going.
Now, unfortunately, I can't slew the telescope while I'm in this part of the software. So I think what I'll do is I'll leave it going with this,
and we'll get it.
And I'll let you talk a bit about Eta Carina. If you'd like, Matt, and we'll see how the stack goes as it stacks these exposures.
Hey Kay, how are you going? All right, so this is you can clearly see this in the night sky at the observatory. It's quite a brightish dot near the Southern Cross. So if you are in dark skies or even in towards the outer suburbs of Perth, look for the Southern Cross, and it's about within a hand spread distance of the Southern Cross, just slightly to the west.
I wonder, Matt, with your wide field shot from the Nikon later on, are you going to include the Eta Carina there, or is it just
hopefully.
Okay, all right. So
we won't
get to see that.
We don't want to spoil the surprise.
Okay.
So far.
Sorry.
So this is quite an amazing place. It's 460 light years across in diameter, so it's quite a large nebula as well. What's pretty cool about this is there's a central star here, and called Eta Carina. So the nebula is called the Karina Nebula, and the star in the middle is called the Eta Carina, and it's one of these stars that it's about to blow. Now, astronomically speaking, about to blow means it could have already blown up.
Are we going to see it tomorrow night, Matt?
Well, the amount of times that clouds have ruined an astronomical event,
Oh, yeah.
I deserve to see this in my lifetime. But so this star could have actually already exploded, and we're just seeing the light that's travelled here because it's over 7,000 light years away from us, and it had a moment back in the 1843 where we couldn't actually see the star, and then it became one of the brightest stars in the night sky, and it became the second brightest star. That's how bright it got in a few weeks, and then it dimmed down again, and so we kept on, and so we saw this what we think is a massive eruption. Now we see this eruption now on a really, you've got a really good night sky when you're looking at the Eta Carina, and you can see the star there, and these two globs of material coming off. We call them a bipolar nebulosity because you can actually, it looks like two, faint tennis balls coming off the star, and that is the eruption from 1843, and that gas is the star having almost, would you say, like a cardiac arrest or a heart attack? It nearly died. They had the paddles out, going clear, bang, keeping the star alive. But so it could have already died. It could blow up today or tomorrow, or it could blow up in 1,000,000 years. And we've just got to wait. If it does blow up today or tomorrow, or 1,000,000 years, then we've got to attack on about 7,500 years.
Right, I was going to say, Matt, remind me how far away it is. How long do we have to wait for this? We got to hope that it blew up 100 years ago, basically.
But so it won't happen overnight, but it will happen.
So I just moved the telescope down a little bit to try my hand at another field of Eta Carina. We'll see what we get with this 60-second exposure.
Cool. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Downloading the light.
Oh, yeah, that is a more central region of nebulosity.
So you can definitely see some nebulosity around here.
I wish I could pinpoint the Eta Carina star in there. It may well be the brightest one there.
It might be this one right here.
Yeah, so people will notice that there are spikes on the stars in this camera. That's because it's a non-anti-blooming camera. It's more tuned to research than to photographing pretty bright nebula regions, but that spike off there is just an artifact which we normally get rid of in post-processing, but you're seeing the raw images live here.
Yep, you're seeing the image today. So that's the thing with astronomical images, is that they're touched up even more than the women's magazines as well. So in terms of classification of stars, so we usually have the smaller stars being red dwarfs. Our star is a main sequence star, and then we go for the giant stars. So you've got red giants, which are stars coming towards the end of their life, and then we've got supergiant stars. Eta Carina is a hypergiant star. This is massive, massive stars, and if you were to put this in our solar system, it would gobble up Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, and even Jupiter. That's how big it is. And so it's a pretty decent size star. I think VY Scuti is the biggest star we've ever seen, and if you put that in our solar system, it even gobbles up Saturn, and could possibly even gobble up Uranus. So these are decent stars. It does have a sibling, and it orbits in an elliptical orbit, so not perfectly circular, every 5.5 years, and that causes fractals in the gas that's coming off, and dust coming off the star as well. So that's pretty cool. And so when Eta Carina does die, it will probably form if it doesn't blow itself completely to bits, it will form a black hole. It's that large. And so it will, and the fantastic thing was it will only happen in the southern hemisphere. It never leaves the night sky here in Perth, unless you've got trees in front of you, like we do in the southern part of the Perth Observatory. So we can't show it all year round.
I hate to cut in, Matt, but I'm getting bored of this part of Eta Carina. I reckon, given how dark the skies are out here, we ought to move on to an awesome galaxy.
Yeah, I think we should,
Okay,
yeah, should we do M83.
M83? All right, why not?
We could actually possibly play some M83 music while we... Yes, if you've heard of the French electronic band called M83...
Which I have not.
Well, you might have. They played Midnight City, I think it's called. I'll play it to you later.
Don't feel the need, Matt. I've got the playlist organised.
But they did name themselves after this galaxy here. And it's quite a famous galaxy. It's called the Southern Pinwheel Galaxy. It's named after the Pinwheel Galaxy in the Northern Hemisphere. So the Pinwheel Galaxy in the Northern Hemisphere actually is two galaxies, a really nice spiral galaxy, and it's colliding at the moment with one of its dwarf galaxy. But this galaxy itself is all by itself, and it's a really nice, especially for Southern Hemisphere astrophotographers, it is a keen object.
Now, we know this one works pretty well because I did this one in a live stream which I did under my Astrophotography Australia page about a week ago, I think,
yep.
Matt. And we were all stunned at how well this came out. So fingers crossed we don't have cloud encroaching yet. Let's see what should I do, a 3 second or a 1 second?
We'll
Let's do a 3 second
yep.
exposure and just see what comes up in the framing of this. I'll probably have to tune the pointing of this, but we'll see. 3 seconds. Do we get a galaxy? Are we lucky? Do we get a galaxy?
Come on. Now, Linda.
Oh, what?
Oh, nothing.
Nothing. Have we got cloud up there?
No, we shouldn't. It's not. It's
Shouldn't?
towards the east. Yeah, just low on the east.
Alright.
Now, Linda, while we do this, has said, "Awesome party. How does one get invited to sit around the campfire in person?" Well, the easiest way is to become a Perth Observatory volunteer. So,
yeah, that would be true.
So that way, you get to come up and you get to do the night sky tours, or you can help us do school day tours, or even guided tours of the observatory. So that's the easiest way to do it.
Bit of a catch, isn't it, Matt?
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
I suppose the other way, to be fair though, was it Linda?
Yes.
Linda is, as my Astrophotography Australia business, I do actually run workshops out here, one-on-ones and group workshops. I have a few people so far already who have just come out here on their own or with their partner. We've done a 2 or 3 hour workshop out here photographing the night sky. So my workshops are all about astrophotography. So there is certainly is a way, but other than that, the site out here is private. But that doesn't stop you going to dark sky sites in around the rest of the central wheat belt. There's a lot of good reserves out there. If you want to find somewhere good to go for dark sky astronomy, Astrotourism WA, look up that on Google. Fantastic place that Carol Redford of Stargazers Club has set up, finding places to go to do astrophotography, and I'm sure some of them you could set up a campfire, but I'm not sure on the details of that.
And we can confirm that the lockdown is the borders are open. You can go to the country.
Well, to the central wheat belt at least.
Yes, I did put a rhubar on my car so I could drive straight through a border check.
Matt,
but,
you don't say that, Matt.
So I've just put in the link to Roger's astrophotography page. Thankfully, he got in early, so he was able to get astrophotography.com.au, and I've also put in the chat here Astrotourism WA. Guys, if you are watching this stream and you want to ask questions, you're more than welcome to join the Discord chat. There is a link down in the drop down menu underneath the video, and you can also, if you're looking at the social media, there should be posts. The latest posts on our social media should also have the link there as well. Linda, while we get this, it looks like we've got some...
We've got something here, but I have to admit, it is nothing near what we had the other night.
No.
And I'm wondering why that is. I'm wondering if we've got a thin layer of cloud up there. I was wondering if anyone's shining a torch in it. Matt's got his red head torch shining in the telescope at the moment. We'll just sort Matt out. But it's nowhere near as bright as what I expected based on our last one, but we'll see how it goes. I might just tweak the levels here and see what we get.
Now, Linda's saying, I have a Canon. You guys keep on mentioning Nikon. Am I allowed to join photography workshops? Yes, you can, Linda. Roger is a Canon person. It's just that we've been, the camera that we have from the Perth Observatory was donated to us, and it was a Nikon camera. So if you've got an EOS camera,
yeah, look, the brand does not matter. You would not believe how many different cameras I've used: Olympus, Sony, Fuji, Nikon, Canon, Panasonic, Lumix. I've used them all, and they're always good fun to find the different intricacies. But Canon is dead easy. I work with Canon most of the time. I use Canon and Fuji primarily.
Yep. Your Fuji camera is fantastic.
I do like Fujis. I pick up a Fuji and I feel like taking photos, but yeah, it's much of a muchness for technology these days.
It is on my bucket list. Not his Fuji mirrorless, but to get something very similar.
So we've got some exposures coming in of M83 here. It's starting to pick up a bit more detail. I'm still not quite sure why we don't have as much detail as the other night. I'll check the dark sky quality meter reading a little bit later on, but it is entirely possible we've got a bit of thin cloud coming over already out here, we'll see. But as this takes extra shots, it's stacking them, and so it's building up better quality. It's downloading the third one now. 3 is a good number to have. Let's see, nice subtle improvement there. Matt, maybe you want to talk a bit about M83, and I'll just keep tweaking the levels on this galaxy and see what we can get.
No problem. So this was actually found in 1752, and it was found by Nicolas Louis de Descartes. Actually, sorry, my French pronunciation. And it was he found it in his observatory in the South Africa. So a lot of the astronomers from the Northern Hemisphere were getting on boats and were coming down to South Africa, where Cape Town was, to look at the southern sky. And he wrote that it was a nebula without stars near the head of Centaurus. It appears as a faint and even glow, but is difficult to see in a telescope, as the least light to illuminate the micrometer wires make it disappear. So he was talking about light in the observatory, so he could see what he was doing. One is only able with the greatest concentration to see it at all. It's a barred spiral galaxy, so we can actually see here that there is a central bar here, and our galaxy here is our galaxy is a barred spiral galaxy. So there's two main arms coming off, one called the Perseus Arm, and the other arm is called I believe it is called the Scotum Centaurus arm, I believe. And so this one is actually even though he was talking about at the head of Centaur, it's actually located in the constellation of Hydra. So hail Hydra. It's one of the nearest and brightest barred spiral galaxies here, and it's located about 15.21 million light years away from us. So when we're seeing this light, you're actually seeing it as it was over 15 million years ago. And so telescopes are actually historic tools. They are showing you what stuff looked like all those years ago. So if you could instantaneously transport yourself to this galaxy and have a massive big telescope to have a look at our planet, you would actually see it as it was 15.21 million years.
Maybe our galaxy. The planet would be a bit of a far stretch to see from another galaxy, I reckon.
Well, if you're a generation, it's 1 or 2.
So you reckon a big enough telescope?
Yeah.
All right.
If you're Jeff Bezos.
This is building up a bit more detail here. It's interesting. So it's not quite as good as the other night, definitely, but
so you can see the arms here coming out here as well.
Yeah.
So this one is 55,000 light years across. So it's small. It's about it's just over about half the size of our galaxy. So our galaxy is actually bigger.
I was wondering where we were going there, because small. You said how many light years?
55,000.
Yeah, tiny, man, absolutely tiny. I mean,
when you've got Andromeda twice the size of us, it is about 200,000 light years across. Although we've got a lot more stuff to our galaxy, so we're actually heavier, even though we're smaller. So we're more compact. It's got about 40 billion stars. Do you guys use color filters? So what you do because of this camera is you would take photos with. So the camera, does it have a filter wheel on it?
Yeah, do you want me to explain
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
Yeah, so the camera does have a filter wheel on it. It's this camera only has LRGB and clear filters in it, but yeah, it's just a little bit tricky to do live for the colour, because normally what we would do is we'd do a series of red, a series of green, a series of blue, a series of luminance exposures. Normally do quite a few more luminance than the RGB and combine all those, and there's a bit of work in that. So I haven't worked out how to do that live yet, and that's why we have just luminance being shown here.
Yep. So it's also a fairly old object as well. It's the same age as our galaxy. All these big galaxies are all over about 13.2 billion years old, and that's because that's when in the time of the universe when the galaxies were able to first form, and so they started off as dwarf galaxies, and then unfortunately they have a habit of eating themselves. So they are cannibals, and as the Borg says, resistance is futile. They will come together. We're in
a science world here, not science fiction, Matt. Although, did you know about the parallax experiment which NASA did with the Wolf 359 star?
Yes, yes. We the Perth Observatory did participate that and taking images of both Alpha Centauri, was it?
No, it was Proxima Centauri.
Proxima Centauri, that's right, and Wolf 395.
359. What kind of a Star Trek person are you,
I'm
Matt?
not. I'm actually a Star Wars and a Stargate person.
Wolf 359. Apologies to all the Star Trek people out there. Matt.
My sister was the Star Trek person.
All right, should I still on to a different galaxy now? Do you reckon we should move on, or have you got more to say about M80?
Let's have a look at which galaxy should we have a look at?
Well, next on my list, I've got the one with the supernova in it.
Yeah, we'll do that again. Yes.
Okay.
So we'll get a much better image.
Actually, was it?
No. This one's called the Black Eye.
Black Eye. Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah. M64.
Yes. M64.
Okay. All right. Well,
so considering that we are bickering here, someone's going to end up in a black eye. We might as well do the Black Eye galaxy.
Let's make sure we finish the wine before. Otherwise, that would be a waste of good wine. All right. Right, so let me just find which one are we going for, Matt? 64.
So M64 or Messier 64.
Okay.
So we're using, with this one here, guys, the M stands for Messier, after Charles Messier, who created his catalogue because he was sick and tired of looking at objects, thinking they were comets, and then finding out that they were actually clusters or nebulas.
Well, this one will be interesting to see, Matt, because it's actually fairly low to the north. Make sure you don't shine your head torch up too much there, Matt, because it might be going in everyone's view. We'll see how we go over the horizons here. Oh, that'll be easy. Okay.
So Troy is giving me the Picard with disappointed look. So I'm sorry, Troy. I came late to Star Trek. I do appreciate it.
So
I think Deep Space Nine is my favourite episode. I liked Odo and... Oh, we got several people typing here.
All right, so I'm just taking a short 10-second exposure here to check that we've got it. We've got something there. This galaxy certainly will be a fainter and smaller galaxy than M83. M83 is a lot brighter, so we'll see how we go with some live exposures here. We'll do a live stack, 60-second exposures again, and see what we get.
So it's also called the Evil Eye Galaxy as well. So the names, this is a pretty cool, they did a good job of naming this galaxy. It's also in the new general catalogue. So you might have heard us say over the last couple of weeks, NGC. So this one's also called NGC 4826. And so this is a catalogue that's been developed since the 19th century, where they put them all together. So this is a relatively isolated spiral galaxy. It's located 17 million light years away from us.
Can I just touch on the NGC again, just to bring that back to the relevance for people?
Yeah.
If you're starting out in stargazing and astrophotography, the NGC catalogue is a sort of go-to catalogue for finding bright objects. There's the Messier catalogue, which has, what is it, 120?
110, I think it
110?
is. Yeah.
Objects in it. So they're really bright ones. But the NGC has over 7,000 objects, and they're all most of them are quite bright, quite good objects. So the NGC catalogue is a good one to look up, and people get to know, just visual observers get to know where good NGC objects are.
Right here,
Yeah, so it's
starting to come through.
It's starting to come through, but it's going to be a bit of a touch and go. The fainter extremities of this galaxy are quite faint. 60-second exposure in what appears to be not quite perfect conditions tonight. Yes. We'll see how this goes. We'll let it do 3 exposures and see. So I'll let you go back to explaining that.
Okay, so just before that, Troy says, "Have you heard of iTelescope.net?" Yes.
Yes.
There's a number of these guys where you can actually pay to use telescope time, and so you set your object, you set the date, time, how many exposures you need, what type of filters, so that you can process your own images. So we have a telescope at the observatory called the Archop Telescope. It's actually next to our Calver Telescope, which is the very first public viewable telescope for the Perth Observatory, and it's still being used today for our night sky tours. And you can so you'll be looking through the Calver, and you can start hearing the Archop Telescope move, because that's part of the Skynet network, not Cyberdyne systems, but we do have an axe near the telescope just in case Arnold, the Terminator does appear. But
let's not bring science fiction back into it, Matt.
But you can also so it's not run by Cyberdyne Systems. It's run by University of North Carolina. Go Tar Heels. And do you want to bring sports into this as well?
No, but I will clarify as to who runs it.
Yeah.
So Perth Observatory Volunteer Group does run the Archop Telescope, and myself and Ken Stranger do that.
Brilliant facilities coordinator.
That's right.
Hello, Ken, if you're watching.
It's the Archop Telescope we provide as a facility for outreach and research partners under the Skynet network of telescopes, which is, as Matt says, coordinated through the University of North Carolina. I'll also jump in there and say iTelescope and services like that are fantastic, but if you want to host your own telescope under dark skies, where could they do it, Matt?
I think they can do it here, can't
I reckon they could,
yes.
yeah. Astro Observatories, West Australia. All right, back to Perth Observatory.
Hang on, before we do that, we'll put that in the chat for you guys. So
we've got the Black Eye Galaxy coming up in a bit more detail here, but it is touch and go. I think that we've got a thin layer of cloud which is playing a bit of hard to get with us.
Yeah, we don't really want to be here. Oh, there it's coming up here. You can clearly see the.
I heard a definitely to the thin layer of cloud from the audience here. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Because Matt and I are looking at laptop screens. We can't see the sky very well right now. So yeah, we've got a bit of cloud. So. Anyway, Matt, do you want to talk a bit more about this galaxy, and then I'll move on to something else?
Yeah. So we'll move on to our special part of the night. Yes. So this is it is spiral galaxy. This part here, this dark dust lane here, this is where it gets its name, the Black Eye. So if anyone has accidentally hit themselves in the eye, I've had a cricket ball in the eye. I missed a shot, and it actually went in between my helmet and grill, and I got a big black eye one time. And it's located in the Coma Berenice, and it's after Bernice's hair. It's which is the Coma Berenice, and in Latin that is basically means Berenice's hair, and that refers to Queen Berenice II of Egypt. It's actually smaller than the southern Pinwheel galaxy. Only just. It's 40,000 light years across, and it's spinning at a rate of about 300 kilometers per second. So that's pretty fast. A lot of the interesting things about dark matter is that there's a halo around these galaxies that actually keep them from ripping themselves apart, because our galaxies rotate so fast that they can actually rip themselves apart. Well, should technically rip themselves apart if you didn't have dark matter. It has 100 billion stars, and again, it's over 13 billion years old. It was discovered by Edward Pidgeot in March 1779. So that's only a year after Arthur Phillips sailed into Sydney. It was also found by Johann Elliot Bode in April 1779. And also Charles Messier noticed it in 1780 as well. But Edward gets the discovery. So what you'll notice is that when you do some reading on these objects, you'll find that there are multiple discoverers, and that's because they didn't have the internet or anything like that back in those days. People would discover it, and then they would have to they would send it into their local astronomy societies, and it was just late getting to who actually found it. So you'll notice that it will say so and so had found it, but it was also independently found by William Herschel. It was just the fact that William Herschel didn't have any help or didn't know that person had found it. Towards the actual core itself is counter-rotating from the main disk, and so in the center of the...
Sorry, Matt, I got rid of it on you. I thought I'm going to find a brighter object while you keep talking about that, and keep going.
Actually, what I can do, I've got an image of it myself that I took with the Nikon. So let me just bring it up while you're searching.
Well, after this, I believe we're going on to your
Yes.
Nikon wide field, so
Yes,
I'm expecting
we
you'll
are.
switch over to that.
So let me just bring this up in OBS. So one thing while I bring this up, we're using to broadcast. We actually use OBS, or Open Broadcast Software. It's free to use, and so you can just download it. It is pretty taxing on the CPUs for my poor standard laptop here. So just here you can see, and we'll zoom in a little bit, so you can actually see there's that nice dust lane. So the actual so that dust lane is rotating the other way to the main central part of the galaxy there, and that's because there is some thought that there might have been a collision here, and with a dwarf galaxy, and that's why there's been a merger, and that's why you're getting the different rotations here as well. So it's also a Type 2. How do you say this, Roger? Cepheid galaxy?
I don't know, Matt.
Oh,
Sorry, I take photos of these things, and I enjoy the photos. So.
Sorry, guys, I didn't have a chance to check the pronunciation of that one. Seyfert, yes, sorry. Thank you, John. So it's one of the two active galaxies. So there are quasars, and then there's this type of galaxy, and so they both have active cores. So there is the black hole at the center here is feeding on a disk of material which is called the event horizon. So when we look at this, if you were to look at this in radio waves, in X-rays, you would actually clearly see jets coming from the north and south poles of this galaxy here as well. The difference with quasars are they are very, very pronounced in the radio and X-ray. I believe and possibly gamma rays. No, I don't think gamma rays. No, and that's because this supermassive black hole in the center is absolutely massive, and that is where, and you can see them very far away. So.
Now, Matt, I've got to say, our commentators here have said that the cloud is definitely coming over,
okay,
and that's why we're losing most of our objects.
No problem.
I wonder if you want to show the wide field, see what we've got in the wide field.
Okay, so what we'll do is we'll transition out of here to...
Meanwhile, I'm going to try taking some shots of some more galaxies, but we'll see.
Okay, so let's do 20 seconds here, 2.8. And we'll do ISO 1200. Okay, so we'll start a capture here.
Yeah, I think we've almost lost it up here. We've got we can see Alpha Centauri, Beta Centauri, and Southern Cross, but we've lost most of the Milky Way into cloud, unfortunately.
Okay.
So it'll be interesting to see what Matt gets here within the Perth Observatory's Nikon D810A.
It's like we're back in Perth.
Except the clouds are dark, John. The clouds are black here. In the central wheat belt, they're black. None of that awful light pollution stuff.
Okay, guys. So it should be downloading very soon now. Here we go, it's queued.
And I'm just taking some photos of Alpha Centauri.
Ooh, there. So you can see the...
oh, there we go. Oh,
yeah.
You can see the cloud, the black
Yes.
cloud in amongst the Milky Way.
Ah, that's a shame, yeah. So here, but we got some nice, you know, shots here.
Well,
so
it's giving some nice, a nice diffusion effect to the
Yeah.
Southern Cross and pointers. So when you're, a little tip for astrophotography, when you're photographing stars like star fields like that, you can use a little diffuser filter to sort of slightly soften those stars and retain some star colour. You can also get the same effect from some nice thin cloud going
Yes.
overhead. So we've got some nice star colour there. It's absolutely
Yeah.
fantastic star colour.
Cool. It's showing. Yep. So yeah, so we've got the Southern Cross here, and you can just make out the emu in the here. So right over here, we've got the Sac Nebula, and this is a dark nebula. So we're seeing here so it's a dark nebula because it's very, very cold hydrogen and dust and silicate particles, and it's preventing light getting in from it. So this is the head of the emu that the indigenous people of Australia see. And we've also got here Alpha Centauri right here, and Beta Centauri. We've got Alpha Crucis, Beta Crucis, the jewel box galaxy which we've shown before.
Jewel box cluster.
Sorry, jewel box cluster.
Open cluster, not a galaxy. It's part of our very own galaxy.
Yes, sorry. We've been showing so many galaxies. Right here, we've also got Gamma Crucis, Delta Crucis, and little Epsilon Crucis here. So a little tidbit, this is the Commonwealth Bank logo right here as well. So then we have our neck that comes down here, and then it expands out here. And this is the body of the emu. And for anyone who is like Scorpio, the constellation, this is Scorpio right here. So we've got the pincers of the scorpion, the head. We've also got right here Antares, and this is a nice little area to take photos if you're an astrophotographer. It's called Roafiki, and so you've got the orange, the Antares, which is a red giant, so it's a star coming towards the end of its life. It lights up the dust around it, and with orange, and then there's a red star here that lights up the dust around it by red, and then we've got a couple of blue stars that lights the dust and gas around it in blue. So it's a nice little shot to take. And then it comes through right through here, and there's the tail area, and there's some nice little clusters in here, and then here's the stinger. Down here, I believe that might be Ptolemy's cluster. There's Ptolemy's cluster, and also the butterfly cluster are really cool to have a look at. We show it during the winter time. And
at the Perth Observatory.
At the Perth Observatory,
Okay,
that's it.
yeah.
Yes, and so it is one of the constellations that actually looks like it says it is. So it is quite amazing, our night sky. And so we're seeing this is what we call the Sagittarius Arm. So this is a minor arm that's come off the Perseus Arm, and it's while it's technically a minor arm, it is pretty rich with dust and gas. It does have some young stars as well, and so but there are some really nice nebulas like the Lagoon, Omega Nebula, Trifid Nebula is also pretty awesome. Also the very famous Eagle Nebula, where we get to see the spire and also the pillars of creation are in this part of the night sky as well, and we get to see them.
I did have a look to see if we could photograph that, Matt, but unfortunately it's not quite high enough yet, and it's a bit too cloudy for it.
Just means we have to come out here another time.
Oh,
doesn't
look, that would be a shame, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Yes. You need some more trees planted, don't you?
I do. Yeah. Look, we need some more trees planted.
No problem. So let's see if we'll just go through. So yeah. So the open the broadcast software we use is Open Broadcast software. So you can actually, it's free. You download it. You do need it can run on just your basic laptop or desktop, but it does tax your CPU a little bit. But yeah, so what we're doing is we're just I've got control of the Perth Observatory YouTube account, and
oh my goodness, who gave him control?
I know. And so that I create a live stream and just tell it its date, and that gives me a key, and I put that into the stream key for OBS, and so I just press stream, and then YouTube comes up and says, okay, I'm receiving the stream, and we're good to go live, and I just press the go live, and you get to hear my voice, and sometimes you even get to see me. What kind of zoom do you have? So this is a 20mm lens that we're looking through. So it's a wide field lens that we're looking through at the moment. So yeah, so I think we're going to end that tonight right there. So thank you very much, guys, for joining us tonight. I hope you've enjoyed the broadcast. We've had some fun here.
Yep, it's been good fun. Thank you, Matt, for coming out
no problem.
To the Central Wheatbelt Ducks, guys.
Roger, I think you've earned yourself another chance to come back on the live stream.
You reckon?
Yeah,
okay, right.
Yeah. I think we could do this with, and thank you, John, as well, for piping in every so often and helping me tonight. Guys, if you did like this stream, please tell your friends and family about the stream, about us doing these live streams. Also like the video, click the subscribe button, and also press the notification bell. Our social media links are down below, and there's also a Patreon link there if you want to help us out at the observatory and donate. You will give you some cool stuff in return as well. And we will be hearing our committee will be making a decision this coming week, I believe, about when we'll be able to redo the night sky tours as well. So with the lockdowns being eased, we should soon be able to do the night sky tours, hopefully. So thank you very much, guys, for coming along.
Thank you.
I hope you've had a great time, and we'll see you next Thursday. We will be doing the night sky talk. So hopefully you'll join us there at 7:30 next Thursday. See you, guys.